And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports, your home for fans first Tampa Bay sports talk. I'm your host, Eureka Wheeler, and this week I'm flying solo, but I wanted to go through kind of my notes on the Minnesota Vikings and Tampa Bay Buccaneers game of last week, and kind of looking ahead to this week's matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, it's kind of a weird predicament because the next three games are at Atlanta, then we play Detroit, and then we have Atlanta again for a Week 17 matchup at home. But who knows what's going to happen during Week 17. Hopefully the Bucs have clinched a playoff spot, and we're just trying to stay healthy before a playoff run. But before we start sizing ourselves up for rings and talking about the playoffs and everything, let's take a look at this week's game against the Minnesota Vikings. So I had a lot of expectations going into this game. I think a lot of us did. I thought we were going to win by multiple scores, and I thought we were going to break. The score prediction I had was 32-24. That's not exactly what happened, but Tampa Bay did beat Minnesota 26-14. So it's a 12-point swing, but it did feel closer than that at a lot of times during this game. And I think my first big point to talk about is that the reason that Minnesota lost this game, first and foremost, is because they shot themselves in the foot. The Vikings, if you look at the stats, they owned the time of possession. They had not quite double, but they had 10 more first downs during the game. It was pretty evenly play calling. They were able to get 14 first downs on by passing and 11 on the run. So if you looked at just the stats, I think you would think that this score was either the opposite way, that the Vikings somehow pulled this out and they were able to hold the ball and get first downs and then eventually put some points on the board and just kind of keep Tom Brady off the field. But that's not how this game panned out. So the first big thing I want to say about how the Buccaneers won this game is that them shooting themselves in the foot was first about kind of just these little things that they did wrong that ended up being the difference. All told, on the margins, this was a pretty evenly matched game, which I did not expect. I thought that Tampa was going to show especially on the offense, they were going to be a lot more dominating on offense. But the big story, I think, is Dan Bailey missing 3 field goals and an extra point. So that's 10 points right there that they should have had on the board. There's no other reason other than Dan Bailey shanking these kicks. There wasn't pressure. There wasn't a block kick. There wasn't anything like that. It was just a bad day at the office for Dan Bailey. Now, all told, those 10 points still weren't enough to beat the Buccaneers, even if they had them. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. The time and the play calling might have been different if this were a closer game than it was, especially coming out of the second half. But it isn't just Dan Bailey's fault. And I mean, I know the coach came out and Cousins came out and was just emphatic in their praise for Dan Bailey about what he's already done in his career, and that one guy isn't enough to kill the team. And in this case, I agree. Although that kicking is a very it's very cutthroat, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that, a kicker, you're supposed to not really think about the kicker. You should, every team is in a good position when they know their kicker is automatic and he's not going to miss anything. And the moment he does, now it's like, well, there's a long list of guys that are trying to get in this league. And so if you're not going to be perfect unfortunately, that's what it takes to be a kicker in the NFL. So, right or wrong, that's just how it's played out. And I'm pretty sure that that's how most fan bases feel. And no one's actually going out there saying, yeah, he's just a great guy. Yeah, he misses half of his kicks, but gosh darn it, we just love him, right? Right? That's not what happens. It's you either make it or you are not in the league. But Dan Bailey by himself didn't lose this game. There was really stupid play calling at the end of the first half that kept time on the clock. It made Tampa Bay not have to use their timeouts to stop the clock, and it gave Tampa another shot, and they ended up throwing the ball deep on a Hail Mary, and there was another mistake, which was penalties. So this pass interference call, and yeah, I think it was a ticky-tack call. You're usually when there's 5 guys jumping up for a ball, it is kind of, what's that game in the backyard? 21, right? You're throwing it up, and people are dogfighting, and it's like rebounding a basketball or something. There's going to be elbows. There's going to be punches and stuff like that. And usually they don't call stuff like that at the end of the half, but they did in this case. And unfortunately, that's technically those are the rules. And Tampa was able to go for it for another. Well, they were on the 1 yard line, and I guess the question could have been. Should they have gone for a touchdown on the 1 yard line with like a few seconds left? But they took the points, and at that time, it was enough to put Tampa up 11 points at halftime. So going in, they were up 17-6 at halftime, and so with all the missed kicks, it just felt like, even though it was 11 points, it felt like a much wider margin than that. So little ticky-tack penalties. I mean, Minnesota had 5 penalties for 71 yards, and that literally cost them points at the end of the first half. And so all those little tiny things were the margin of difference, because throughout the rest of the game, the Minnesota Vikings were actually pretty good. And I know we talked about that last week. Musab and I, we said they're an average team. They're a good team, not great, not bad, but good, okay, right? And so throughout this game, yeah, they showed that they didn't break off any huge plays or do anything like that, but they kind of nickeled and dimed and razor bladed the death by 1,000 cuts. But all the little things added up in the end, and that's why the Vikings weren't able to do that. So the second thing I want to say is that our defense was definitely bent, but they did not break. So Minnesota, they had 102 yards from the great Dalvin Cook. He's been their workhorse, and he is one of the few, if not the only guy. I'm trying to think of someone else who's running for over 100 yards against Tampa this year, but he's definitely the best runner, and he's had the best performance rushing, I guess, all year. But that was one thing I think we expected. We expected them to go heavy on the Dalvin Cook, and Tampa Bay has the number 1 rush defense in the league. And so even though they gave up 102 yards, it doesn't feel like he dominated the defense. He had really good runs and a lot of drive extending plays, but none of those big home run type plays, right? Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, was able to find seemingly the right read or the right route or even scramble for first downs. I mean, he's a guy who he has a respectable day at the office. And while, again, just if you look at it, no interceptions, he only had 1 touchdown, but, 24 of 37 for 225 yards. It's not earth-shattering, but, it was okay. It was not a bad performance, and in some of the points in the game, they were in position to make it a real ball game. And so good play calling from Minnesota kind of kept the Bucs on their toes. They were using Dalvin Cook as a threat very well. All in all, I think it was a good game from Minnesota. But the defense wasn't broken. And so if you look at the amazing things this defense has done this year, having 6 sacks, including a strip sack by JPP that really killed a rally at the end of the game. That was a huge backbreaker. That while Minnesota's trying to razor blade and this and that, there were multiple times where the Bucs were able to get great penetration, they were able to get good pressure, and they were able to bring Cousins down and end it from being maybe a 3rd and short or a 4th and short. It became much more of a problem. And for all those great drives that Cousins and Cook and co had, they couldn't produce points. Now, obviously, 10 points of that is Dan Bailey, but many times that they got in, they would get close to the red zone or they're in the red zone, and they just couldn't put it in the end zone. And unfortunately, when you're having a guy like Dan Bailey having a bad day, well, there's a reason that kickers aren't on the highest pedestal. It's because we need the wide receivers, we need the running backs, we need Kirk Cousins to step up, I guess, if you're Minnesota. And just that didn't happen. So that's why it's bending but not breaking, right? So at the end of the day, they have to score more points, and they couldn't do that in the red zone and getting in the end zone. So one of the other good things is that Tampa Bay was able to break Kirk Cousins' streak of 300-yard games. And I really think that's been a big wave that they've been riding, is that you have Dalvin Cook doing well, and you've got Kirk Cousins just airing it out, putting up the numbers on the stat sheet. And if Kirk Cousins was able to throw for more than 225 yards, if there was a couple big plays, I think this game would have been a lot different. Because, I mean, you just getting in the end zone once more, or maybe even twice more, and now we're not talking about Dan Bailey. We're talking about, Dan Bailey didn't have a great game, but the Vikings were able to exploit some weaknesses in the defense and all those things. But that was the razor thin margin that the Bucs were able to maintain. But the final point I'll make about this Tampa Bay Minnesota game is that this wasn't the overwhelming performance that we were hoping for. Unfortunately, this was another slow start and a scoreless first quarter from the offense. We had, Brady getting hit all game, and it caused some bad throws. Now, on the stat sheet, if you say, okay, Minnesota had no sacks, but however, they did have, 3 tabulated quarterback hits plus other hits and other things that were, causing Brady to have to step up in the pocket or move around or do some things that he wasn't comfortable doing and hold the ball a little bit longer because, receivers are running their routes and there's a little bit of there's still a little bit of questioning or at least like they're not on the same page. And unfortunately, he's getting pressured. He's ready to throw it. He's cocking it back, and that's a problem that they do need to somehow rectify over the next few weeks. Otherwise, it's going to be a big problem in the playoffs. Because getting that pressure on Brady, he's overthrowing receivers. He's just not putting the ball on target most of the time. The other thing was that for as much praise as we should give our defense, and they really were the difference in this game, is that there were too many 3rd and 4th down conversions. Now I'm thinking from watching the game again that it was a product of one, Kirk Cousins making good reads and there being open guys in little zones, but it was a kind of a problem of Tampa's offense not being able to get a little bit more time of possession. So for as good as our defense is, if they're on the field for these just long 11, 12 play drives over and over and over, that's going to be a way that some team is going to end up beating the Buccaneers. A better team like the Saints or the Rams or something like that. If we run into them in the playoffs, here's your blueprint. Here's your blueprint. wear down that defense so that in the second half you can hit these big plays. And if Tom Brady's giving you 3 and outs, man, you need to bring the hammer down. And so while the defense was able to make all these third down stops and make these good opportunities to get off the field on 3 and outs, unfortunately, the little 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s, all this stuff, they were able to convert multiple times, especially in the second half. I mean, the very first drive that Minnesota had in the second half, you had a 3rd down conversion and another 3rd down conversion, a 4th down conversion on 4th and 6, then, and that led to a touchdown. So you have this long drive, which was in response to a Gronkowski touchdown. So at the moment where Tampa was up 23-6, they responded with a huge touchdown drive that they even scored a 2-point conversion on. And so they just made it a 23-14 game. So you now have that momentum shift of, wow, we're just demolishing these guys 23-6 to all of a sudden you now have a tiring defense and a Kirk Cousins-led offense that's really kind of humming along and converting when they need to and hitting clutch plays when they have to. So for all of that, for all of the kind of questions that we still have, and this wasn't that overwhelming performance that I was hoping for, they did win the game. And at the end of it, that's what it's all about, is that the Bucs are in position to make their first trip to the playoffs since 2007. Now, we are on the final stretch of the regular season, and it all comes down to if the Bucs can just keep winning, they will be in a good position and in good spirits going in to the playoffs. We're going to start talking about our first of 3 final games of this year against the Atlanta Falcons. Let's get into Buccaneers-Falcons after the break. Welcome back into RBLR Sports. And so now taking a look as we turn the page to the Atlanta Falcons. So if you look at this game here, the Bucs are a 6.5-point favorite over the 4-9 Atlanta Falcons. Now, they're 4-9 overall, but they only have 2 wins in the last 7 games that they've had at home in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. So looking at them over the last 5 games, they lost to the Chargers by 3. They lost to New Orleans by 4. They demolished the Vegas Raiders 43-6 3 weeks ago, and they lost to New Orleans 24-9 before that, and they beat Denver 34-27. Now, big injuries for the Bucs. Ronald Jones, starting running back, he is out for this game. He hurt his hand, as well as he is on the COVID list. Also, left tackle Donovan Smith is out, starting left tackle. So there's going to be some questions that we'll get into in a second. On the other side, though, for Atlanta, Julio Jones, big name wide receiver, he is out, and starting safety Ricardo Allen is out. So little bit of what we'd kind of expect this late in the season. You're going to have some big names that are going down. But my three big storylines going into this game is that I believe that Tampa will air it out this game. They've already thrown just first. I mean, they've been a pass-first offense, or a pass-heavy offense, I should say, all year. And with Ronald Jones out, I do expect them to really throw the ball. So I don't think they're going to change running on first down. I mean, that's just what Bruce Arians wants to do. He just wants to kind of lull you into a comfort zone of where we're going to run, and then that's where the play action and all this stuff. So I see the long-term goal of it, but you're asking a lot of maybe Keyshawn Vaughn. You're asking Shady McCoy. You're asking these guys to step up. Leonard Fournette is going to be the starting running back. So all these guys will definitely be by committee. I don't think they're going to, or maybe they pick one running back for the drive and something like that. But I think you're going to see a lot of different substitutions, and maybe you're getting 7 to 8 carries per running back. But other than running on first down as a kind of a staple, I think overall the game plan is going to be to throw against this Atlanta defense that's giving up over 296 yards on average. And so when you look at their defense, they're losing Ricardo Allen. They've got a couple other guys banged up in the secondary, and they're not exactly lighting the world on fire on pass defense anyway. Now, some of that stems from their lack of being able to get pressure on the front seven. Atlanta, through 14 weeks now, they've only had 25 sacks the entire year, and really, this offense this is the chance that they get to finally have all the Ferraris and Lamborghinis on the field and just air it out on that turf in the dome. Speed kills. So I'm really looking for Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown specifically to excel on that turf and to get those deep throws, to get those slant routes, to get those yards after catch. That when they're able to get the ball and turn the afterburners on, I think you're going to see some home run plays from Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown. But this is also, I think, a really good opportunity to stretch that field with those guys, where you're going to have what's been open all year, which is the short routes to the tight ends. So to be honest with you, I think whatever Brady wants, he's going to get. And now I think that, unfortunately, we do see them starting slow, but if they're feeling out and they're kind of seeing, okay, here's what they're doing against us in this situation and here and there, it might be another rough first quarter, but I think that at the end of it, the Bucs are going to be able to get multiple scoring touchdowns through the air. The second big storyline that I'm looking for is I'm really hoping, or I'm expecting, that the defense is going to do the damn thing. I believe that if you pressure Matt Ryan, it will all fall apart for this Atlanta team. It really starts with the veteran Matt Ryan. This offensive line gave up 6 sacks. They gave up 8 sacks last week, and with our defense coming in with 6 sacks last week, it doesn't look like another banner performance for Atlanta's offensive line. I really think that they're going to be able to use and abuse these guys up front and really eat Matt Ryan's lunch the whole game. Especially that the defense doesn't have to worry about Julio Jones. They have to contain the other wide receivers, Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, looking to step up with Julio Jones on the sideline. But where we're getting Jamel Dean back, our secondary is looking a little healthier this week. We obviously I think have a mismatch up front with Ndamukong Suh. I think that guys like the Barrett and David and all those guys are going to be able to blitz all day, and we understand that's what we want to do here on defense. Those opportunities are going to be there, and I don't think this is going to be another one of those Minnesota matchups where they're good and we're great, but they're able to kind of play up to the competition. I think that those days are done for Atlanta. We've seen the bump. We've seen the interim head coach bump. They got rid of their coach and they put Raheem Morris in, and that has kind of injected some new life and new blood. But while going 4-4 since changing to Raheem Morris, they've only had 1 win in 4 games against the good teams that they've played. Now, they're playing strong and they're losing by 1 score, but I don't think so. With the Bucs now having the chance to clinch a playoff spot this week, and I believe that just overall the talent matchup is a big discrepancy. I'm really looking for the standouts on defense. I'm looking for who else is really going to step up, and they don't really have those household names. And unfortunately, this Tampa Bay offense and defense they're just littered with Pro Bowl level quality at multiple positions. So I think it's going to be too much for Atlanta. I think that everyone expects. I know Vegas is expecting a 6.5 point spread for the Bucs, even on the road, and so that's all in all. The real question, and this is my third and final storyline, is that the real question is: are all the little things going to matter for the Bucs? Meaning, there's 3 weeks left in this season, and they're not playing playoff level competition. So, can they keep their play up to optimal level? Can they not play down to the level of the competition, which is unfortunately what we've seen Tampa do off and on this year, if not be overplayed by worse competition? Okay. Now with Brady, I believe that there's a different flavor in the mix that we normally, as Bucs fans, we're waiting for that sword of Damocles over our head to come down at any moment. Okay, we're waiting for it. But with Brady on the team, I think that kind of gives a little bit more leeway to hope that they're going to execute the game plan, that there's not going to be little ticky-tack penalties that let the other team stay in the game. And I believe, which is what we've been hoping all year, is that Brady and the receivers are able to get on the same page. They're still not looking 100% on page, and they do need to shore up some of these route running problems. That when Brady's ready to throw the ball, Evans isn't in position. He goes maybe a yard or two too deep on the cutback route. All of those things where now you've got timing issues, plus, like we've said before, if the O-line can't really keep the pressure off Brady, he's either holding the ball too long because the receiver's not ready, or he's throwing it, kind of errantly and waywardly. But I'm hoping that all the little things do matter, that we do see, good patience on offense, whether we're not jumping off sides, we're not holding because of we lost a matchup and things like that. So that's really going to be what I'm looking for over the next 3 games. Obviously, I think we expect to win all 3 games, but the difference is going to be if we come back here next week talking about, the penalties crept up again. They gave up third down conversions again, just like we saw against Minnesota. They, all those little coin flips, if they don't go the Bucs way, the real splitting hairs things about did we have a ticky-tack foul? Did we extend their drive? Did we give them more opportunities to put points on the board? Another team like Atlanta is going to take advantage of that. I mean, if Matt Ryan is able to sit back in that pocket and we're not able to get that pressure, and, guys like Gage and Ridley step up, or maybe someone comes out of nowhere and has a great rushing day against this expected really good rushing defense because of things like, kind of taking your foot off the gas. Really, the Buccaneers need to start fast, never let up, and that comes down to taking care of the ball and taking care of the little things. With all that said, as cautious and weary as I am, and I think that just comes from years of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, okay? It has been 13 years since we've been to the playoffs, okay? With all that said, I think this should be a slam dunk for the Buccaneers. Now, in the past, I might have said, they're going to score 38 points and they're only going to give up 3 points and they're just going to blow them out. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've shown that Tampa's probably going to just win by a double-digit margin, but a low double-digit margin. So my prediction is that Tampa Bay is going to win this game 28-17. I think that Tampa is going to get multiple passing scores, and they will give up some points. There's going to be a couple times and a couple drives that Atlanta is able to, to thread the needle. And Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan. He should get at least one touchdown. But I believe that Tampa's going to have another one of these, 10, 11 point victories. And in the NFL, that's better than average margin. But I think that Tampa's going to be able to run the ball well and keep drives, keep that clock running. And Brady's going to have multiple deep plays to either Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, maybe even Gronk gets like a 40, 50-yard kind of blown coverage play. But with all that said, I'm trying to not be overly cocky that the Bucs are just going to go in there, but really that would be the best thing that they could do, is just go in there, take care of the little things, and take care of a team that they obviously should beat and that they are better than. Well, with all that said, it was a short show. Musab's on assignment, taking care of some business. We're still waiting on news about the Lightning season, and even Major League Baseball is getting pushed back a little bit, probably. So when there's ever big news on those fronts, we're definitely going to cover that. But football's the main game in town right now. The Tampa Raptors, the Toronto Raptors are starting their season next week, so maybe we'll have a little bit of basketball talk, just having some fun while we have a team here in the city. One thing that was cool is that I tried to buy tickets to the opener. Now, to be honest with you, I wasn't going to go, but I wanted to at least see because when you're on Ticketmaster, you can see how many people are in line ahead of you and things like that. And what was really cool is that I was in line, quote unquote, I was in the queue to buy tickets, and as soon as they went on sale, it was very quickly that they sold out. I'm hoping it's not ticket scalpers doing bad things and letting people that aren't together, buy tickets, and then we're kind of not doing our part to help quell the pandemic here. But it was good to see that there is at least a lot of enthusiasm and people putting their money, more importantly, putting their money where their mouth is and saying that we do want basketball in this town and that we would be a good basketball town. So Toronto, we're just hanging out. They're just taking a vacay down here. We're going to take really good care of them. We're going to love them as much as we can down here. We don't want your team. We just want a team, okay? So don't come at me with all that stuff. But we'll have some fun. If you have time, please follow us on all forms of social media. We are at RBLR Sports. If you could please, on any platform, wherever you're listening to us right now, remember to like and subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, and you could leave us a 5-star review. Please, please, please. This helps us out a lot. If you're on Stitcher, if you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, where we do post this, like, subscribe, and that way you get all of our content. As soon as we put it up, you get notified, and you're never out of the loop. Well, for all of us here at RBLR Sports, I am Eureka, signing off until next week. Let's go Bucs. Let's take care of business. Let's get this 3-game stretch started with a dominant win against the Atlanta Falcons. And until then, take it easy, guys.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.